If I took Jason Momoa, stripped him butt-ass naked in a jail cell, and fed him nothing but bacon and Capri Suns while listening to A Bay Bay by Hurricane Chris for 28 days straight, non-stop, then I would have created one of the most frightening villains of all time. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to stay tuned and show support for the channel. What up? VSD here, coming at you live, baby. And I just saw the movie 28 years later. Normally, I'd say you gotta know more about the origin of this tale in order to grasp the context of this movie. But you don't have to. Standing alone, you can approach this movie with a fresh look. However, some details would need to be explained first, so let's start there. High five. Be that way. Damn. 28 years later is the third installment of the movie 28 Days Later, taking place 28 years after the spread of the rage virus in the UK. I know what you're saying. VSD, what the heck is the rage virus? I'll get there, I promise. 28 Days Later was a film directed by Danny Boyle and originally written by Alex Garland, who took inspiration by the legend himself, George A. Romero, and a novel written by John Wyndham called The Day of the Triffids, which involved killer plants, believe it or not. The movie starts with a bunch of animal rights activists barging into a research facility to free some animals. Already, this doesn't sound good. The scientists warn the activists that the chimps are infected with the disease they simply call rage. Now stop right there. If I heard this and I was with this group, I would have taken my black ass home. But also, I wouldn't even be there anyway, but whatever. They don't listen to the scientists, surprisingly not, and Homegirl tries to free one of the chimps and she gets bit. Seconds later, the infection spreads and she becomes ravenous, and the chimps look on with amazement as she attacks and spreads those germs from host to host. This is why you should never play God, and if you do, you better look at the rules carefully. The infection spreads across the UK, and 28 days later, a dude named Jim, played by actor Cillian Murphy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but we like to call him the Beast. He wakes up from a coma in a hospital in a new world filled with fright and terror. So in short, this zombie virus originated in a bunch of monkeys. The sequel, 28 Weeks Later, didn't have Boyle as director or Garland as the writer, but in 28 years later, the duo came back to the drawing board, no pun intended. Not since the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity have I witnessed such genius behind the scenes. This movie was very well crafted, both in production and in post. I actually did some digging in, I did some research, your boy did his homework, and found out this film was mostly shot using 20 iPhone 15 Pro Maxes. This goes to show you that you don't need a big budget to make a great film. Even at a $60 million budget, they still managed to create a work of art. Think smarter, not harder, Hollywood. Take notes. Damn, nigga, really? Even the editing was amazing, which reminded me a little bit of how the movie Zombieland was shot together. They definitely got their money's worth. Pairing up the right people together creates harmony on screen, and this movie does not disappoint. In a post-apocalyptic world, the bonds these characters share mean something. I thought it was interesting this time around to center the story on the boy Spike, played by actor Alfie Williams. In this expansive world centering on a boy's journey through manhood, aka a rite of passage, was an interesting touch. This movie also introduces many different types of zombies, aka the infected, that we saw, which reminded me a little bit of the game Left 4 Dead, and at least there ain't no witches. You're gonna eventually give me dap, I'm telling you the truth. This movie actually has many storylines, but I'm only gonna focus on a few. We start out with the story of this boy named Jimmy at the eve of the infection, and he's placed in a room full of a bunch of kids watching Teletubbies, and they all look nervous. I mean, it's Teletubbies. The son has the face of a baby, so I'd be worried too. Eventually, the infected break in and all chaos ensues throughout the house. Jimmy runs to the church. Amen. And goes to his dad, who's a priest, who sees this plague as God's liberation for reasons I can't even fathom. He hands Jimmy a cross, and Jimmy hides in the floor of the church as his dad is being eaten alive in orgasmic fashion. I mean, I'm not joking, just look at it. 28 years later, after the infection, we meet another boy who is 12 years old named Spike, who lives with his grandfather, his sick mom, and his pops, who is cooking up bacon and eggs to prepare Spike for his first day of foraging. And he's coming along too. Hey, let's go, baby. They all live in a small island commune, and everybody is super hyped for Spike, as if this was Spike's rite of passage to manhood, to scavenge and support the commune. And I like that. And as I'm looking at all this, if he's successful, he's gonna be like class president and the coolest kid in school in front of all the girls. I'm not joking. With a skill set in archery, Spike and his dad are led outside beyond the walls and cross the narrow pathway to the mainland that only appears during low tide, so they can get a layout of the land, scavenge, and return safely from their journey. The mainland is full of beauty and danger, and already we see some zombies, which I refer to as chubs, because they are fat as hell and crawl the earth looking for grubs to consume. You would think that this high protein diet would have them lose all that weight, but nope. As the chubs start to gather, Spike and his dad ends up killing a few, and a childlike one flees to wherever the fuck it came from. Zombies experiencing fear is something new, I'll tell you that for sure. After killing off a zombie who was hanged upside down with a bag over its head in a beaten up old house, they witness a flock of what looked like deer, and then the silhouette of the menace on a hill in the distance appears, referred to as the Alpha. Then a bunch of other zombies come from behind him, and with a shout from the Alpha, what I've referred to as the Sprinters, they charge at Spike and his dad, and they have to take refuge in the attic of this old ass house after killing a few Sprinters. They now gotta wait until the morning for low tide so they can make it back home. Whoever heard of deer, I guess, gallop at night, and vibrations on the earth caused the roof of the house to crumble, and Spike and his dad had to make a run to home plate. The path to the island is barely submerged underwater, but they begin to cross. You'd think they have a boat, but whatever. As they make it halfway through, the Alpha charges over the river and through the woods to sprint on the watery walkway after Spike and his dad. They were struggling across the watery terrain to make it to the gates. My black ass would have lifted them knees higher the fuck. Eventually, the Alpha is killed by archers, and a party with booze and a little bit of apple pie was waiting for them. And by apple pie, I'm referring to Spike witnessing his dad cheat on his mom with a younger version of Jennifer Love Hewitt. Man was going in. I'll stop. It was lunchtime. Listen, I'll stop. As his dad was chowing down, I'll stop. Spike learns from his grandfather of a doctor on the mainland who was causing the fires in the distance when they were taking refuge at night in this condemned old home. And the next morning, after a fight with his dad, Spike tells his dad to leave him and his mom alone, causing the dad to storm out. Man punched a hole in the wall and everything. After the dad storms off, Spike takes his sick mom with him and stages a fire to distract the guards so he and his mom can sneak across the walkway to the mainland to have the doctor save his sick mom. Mind you, his mom is out of her mind, going in and out of reality. Now the journey begins. Shit. Spike and his mom travel the mainland, and she is sick and out of her goddamn mind. She thinks her son is her dad or some shit, and they have to travel on foot and avoid sprinters and chubs, as well as what I refer to as the anorexia zombietta. One night as they slept, a chub was about to eat Spike while he slept, but it was revealed in a flashback that the mom killed it on some John Wick shit, and it piqued my interest if she was really sick or not. What writing? They flee into a gas station to avoid sprinters, and they were saved by a Swedish army man named Eric, who introduces Spike to technology and the modern woman on some of the most hysterical shit I've heard in years. The mom hears screaming and she goes to investigate this. Why? Why? Why would you let her do that? She's not right. She's not in her mind. She finds a pregnant zombie sprinter and helps deliver her baby girl who is not infected. Bullshit. Bullshit. Bitch, she is a carrier. Observe the previous sequel for clarification. That shit is dormant and she can spread it if she is infected, which would be the case since the umbilical cord and placenta are at play. What? What? I know my biology, so shut up. Hashtag Punnett Square. Eric sees this bullshit and the zombie mom was about to attack and he shoots her dead. That's right, my nigga, you are G-Force classified. He threatens to kill all of them if they didn't put the baby down, which I would have done in a heartbeat. But then the baby daddy shows up to rip Eric's head out of its socket. And it's another alpha. I'm looking at this in utter shock like this. As the alpha was about to rampage at Spike and his mom with the alpha's baby in her arms, I'm like, give him his child. But I'm not sure if this shit was gonna work. Spike, on some Robin Hood type energy, somehow he got his black Air Forces, shoots a bunch of arrows at the alpha and the alpha just eats them like he was Mike Myers or some shit. Now I'm in utter shock. Again. Guys, I am witnessing a butt-ass naked zombie who looks just like Jason Momoa with a crazy look in his eyes, a beer belly, and a big dick. No homo. I repeat, a crazy naked Jason Momoa with a big dick running after you in the woods. My ass was f***ing terrified. I could not speak. I could not even move. I had no f***ing clue what was gonna happen next. Shut up. That thing was like 22 inches, no homo. And he's screaming at me like a f***ing caveman in the wilderness? Y'all would be scared too. Don't judge me. You weren't there. Don't judge me. Do not judge me. Spike and his mom are saved by the doctor who tranquilizes this goddamn Terminator. They go to his little shop of horrors and cremates/purifies Eric's skull to be placed amongst this mounds of skulls. Spike learns from the doctor that his mom has brain cancer and could not be saved, and we come to learn that the mom knew this already. With not long to live, the doctor tranquilizes Spike with the baby in his hands, and at the request of the mom, she is tranquilized and cremated in the same fashion as Eric. Spike would later place his mom's skull at the top of the mound and venture back home to leave the baby girl named Isla at the commune entrance with a letter for his dad. Yo, he named the baby after his mother, y'all. But I'm telling you, this child is not safe. The Terminator is out there. Spike's dad reads the letter and runs to the shore screaming for his son to come back home. Spike in the meantime is on his own quest, cooking up grilled fish and killing a sprinter. Ah, the good life. However, other sprinters emerge and Spike is now cornered but gets the help of a group of people I call the Blondes, and they go to work. With all the sprinters dead, Spike shakes the hand of the leader named Jimmy, who is wearing the cross given to him by his father 28 years ago. I swear we better get another sequel after this. The emotional story is very simple to understand. It's the story of a boy's journey into manhood and responsibility. Although he was trained as an archer to be a forager, his life in the commune becomes challenged when he senses that no one is trying to help his sick mom get better. He believes that there's a cure out there, and so he takes matters to his own hands and takes a journey with his mom to find the doctor, which is a huge risk to take on. They finally meet the doctor, who is really the guardian archetype and a thematic character who tells Spike some words in Latin, which means to remember death and to remember love. Spike's journey was about not just coming to terms with how the world is now, but to embrace all that it still offers in return. Remembering death is about knowing that we all will one day die. Remembering love is all about remembering the people who are in our lives that added to our lives, however short or long that may be. Spike came to terms that there was no cure to help his mom, and he embraced death and the love for his mom, which gave him the courage to pursue life outside of the commune. Spike's weakness was simply linked to him not accepting this as truth, for he believes that he could change fate, but had to accept that some things cannot be changed, but change can always start from within. This is evident in him standing firm as an archer and killing the sprinters he had difficulty with when he was with his father earlier in the movie. Although his father was cheating on his mom, his father prepared him for the road that lay ahead of him, and I hope we get to see this story. If I had to rate this movie, I would have to give it 5 stars. I know, shocking, right? First 5-star movie, y'all. But let me explain why. Then you can throw the rocks at me later. Unlike the second installment, which did not have Boyle and Garland on board, the third installment felt more like a true sequel to the original tale. Fundamentally, they honored their original work. The mutation of the zombies into a more tribal and caveman-like being makes a lot of sense. This is because the rage virus originated in chimpanzees, and so in a way, although they are zombies, they are more like infected peoples with a zombie-like virus, naturally speaking, where when it mutates, they end up having traits similar to ravenous beasts, hence their ability to procreate. Because if that wasn't the case, I would simply call bullshit, but it had a purpose. They are not undead truly, just sick. Technically, without question, the movie was shot in a very interesting and artistic way, with great performances from the cast and crew. Acting-wise, everything was both believable and shocking in its own way. The action story was definitely gripping and the emotional story had purpose. Folks, this is how you make a horror flick with an actual story. Despite some minor flaws that you might see if you really nitpick and analyze this film, overall I give it a passing grade. Now do another sequel! Stories like these are rare to find, but when you find them, you have to watch them again and again. Success or failure, this next video will show the difference between art and lazy writing.